So I made mention on a lot of the podcasts that we were doing that toward the end of the year is typically, at least for me and other business owners I know, this is when they kind of look at that P&L and they go, all right, maybe it's time to give, right?
Maybe I've been blessed and I need to give a little back.
Right. It's a feel good, and there's people doing good things and good causes, and let's not sugarcoat it. Profit's not a dirty word, and it's a write-off.
That's right.
Right?
I mean, there's multiple things that are good for that. You get a little bit of write-off, but hey, you're feeling good in the end as well, which is really important.
Correct. So we've got Steve, or he goes by Coach.
Coach, yeah.
With, what is it, the Burke Center for Youth?
Burke Center for Youth. We are a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
We take care of abused and neglected foster boys. So we've been around for 50 years, and we're located in Driftwood, real close to here. And we have anywhere up to 30 boys at a time at our place. We have a 50-acre ranch.
Wow.
Been around that 50 years has been a long growing season, but our focus is just this one demographic: 10 to 17-year-old boys that are in the foster system. They have been through some really tough times, and they don't come to us until after they've failed, even in foster homes. Excuse me. And so once they're in that situation, they're really grasping for straws to just trying to get anything that'll help give them a break. And we have exactly what they need while we're out there. We've got 5 therapists. We have equine therapy out there. There's just so many opportunities for them to reach out and succeed. I like to tell people that one of the things I want our boys to do is, when you're in that situation, you're looking right in front of your foot. So what is my next step going to be so I don't trip and fall? And so my goal is to get their eyes to the horizon so that they can see the opportunities that are really out there, even though they're in this really negative situation. And that's a tough thing to do because some of them have been in and out of. I've had one kid that was in 35 different foster homes and institutions, and he was 12 years old. So the need is there, and the children, unfortunately, are there. I really wish I could go out of business.
Yeah, right. It's one of the. 10 to 17 too. Wow, those are big
boys.
Years, right? Yeah, I can. Yeah. I can kind of remember those times, and that's really when the trouble starts. And
there's a lot of stuff going on in the brain of a teenage boy. There's no doubt, and not all of it's good,
right?
But they're just trying to get by, and they don't have a family. So, that's the piece that a lot of people can really resonate with, especially in this time of the year. Is like, hey, it's all about family. It's Thanksgiving. There's Christmas. It's all about being with friends and family. And when you see that this child is in a situation that they really just can't do anything for themselves, and they're just trying to survive, it's really not hard to tug at a heartstring for that. So, it's a easy sell, I say.
So are these kids that are local, or are these kids from across the country? Like,
this is the
how
state
does
of
that
Texas.
work? State of Texas, okay.
So we're debating on right now is reaching out to other states as well. But up to this point for the last 50 years, we've really focused just on the state of Texas boys. And there's plenty of them out there. There's kids in what they call child watch or sorry about that.
That's all right.
I thought I zeroed out everything. But the point is that the state of Texas is our focus. We want to help the kids that are here. But we take the whole state of Texas because we have the opportunity to do some special things with our therapy that not everybody has. And so we're sought out from a lot of different locations. So for example, if a child's been sexually abused, there's not a whole lot of people that have special therapists that are trained in that. And we do. And that's a very tough demographic as well.
So in addition to, we do Texas, we stay within the state, and we're considering going outside of the state. What got you into this? And first of all, how long have you been doing this with the Burke Center, and what kind of made you decide to take it on as a thing?
An interesting question because for me, I'm a retired Air Force pilot.
Okay.
So I was doing that for 25 years.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you. My pleasure. So then I got out and I was a stay-at-home dad for a while, which was, my wife's a pediatrician, pretty smart lady, smarter than I am. Anyhow, so she started doing her thing.
Smart man to say
that. Yes, she may watch this.
Right.
No. So after that, I stayed home for a little while, and then I got another degree and got into business. So kind of like you.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I was going to start off and start running that business. And then I started volunteering at this Burke Center, just helping out. So for a couple of years, I just fixed buildings and,
What did that look like? Did you meet somebody? Did you drive past the place? Like, how did you find
I
out
drove
about
past
this?
probably a million times, didn't know what it was.
Okay.
It was with my church, actually.
I see.
So
Okay.
my church went out there, and they've been there for 5 years before that,
Right.
or more. And I was like, oh, come on, help out. And so I did that. And then the executive director got let go, and they said, hey, how would you like to do this? They knew my background. They kind of knew that I could do this job. And, you can say no only too many times. And then
Right.
sooner or later, somebody higher than our power says,
Yep.
hey, time to be there. So I did. So that's what happened. I started helping out, told them to give them 6 months, and here I am, 8 years later. So it's been about an 8-year climb. And my goal, I think one of the biggest things is I have gifts that fit really well into that. So all of my education and all of my leadership and all of my experiences, everything that I've had from when I was a child all the way up till now, really suited to do this job. And I'm sure a lot of people could say the same thing if they wanted to step into the job that I'm in. It's like, hey, there's a need. They're in a situation where they need to fix a lot of things and grow some stuff. But in general, the whole thing is about taking care of these boys. And how do you do that? I was, I think, pretty well suited to do that. So I keep doing it until either I'm not useful to them anymore or someone can do a better job. And I'm hoping that comes along at some point.
So, as far as, we're getting the kids there, and obviously we know that we've got multiple therapists. There's tools there to help them out and kind of get through the tough time that they're currently in.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would say is kind of like the mantra of the Burke Center for Youth for the kids that are coming there? Like, what does it look like? Do they have to put in the work type of situation, or is it we're here to help you? I would envision there has to be some sort of
Our
mission statement.
Yeah, there's mission statements and there's all that kind of good stuff the businesses all talk about. Really, the focus for us is a culture of care. And one of the things that's best about the Burke Center versus, let's say, most of the other places that are out there, with a 50-acre ranch, we're able to offer opportunities that these kids would never have in a city. And also, most of them, even in the country, wouldn't be able to have. So I'll give you an example of what we offer.
Please.
So we have a wood shop on campus.
Okay.
And it's fully loaded wood shop. We have a guy who volunteers every week, twice a week, and he teaches 4 boys at each of those as a class, and he teaches them how to do woodworking. Great for boys, right?
Sure.
We have an auto shop right next to it, and so we have 4 auto bays in there, and we have the ability, and we've had boys move engines, take them out, put new engines in. We have 2 volunteers that do that.
That's awesome.
Somebody teaches welding to the boys. We have volunteers that teach culinary arts, so they teach the boys how to cook. We have volunteers that teach German, Spanish, fly fishing.
Nice.
We have somebody that comes out with his telescope and he teaches the boys about the stars.
Sure.
So we have a lot of those opportunities.
What's the most popular right now?
The kids most popular?
Yeah,
they
the ones they want to do.
They love auto shop.
Okay.
Absolutely love auto shop. They fight for that one.
Interesting.
And of course our horses. It's not. It's not from. It's more of the equine therapy. So we have 2 people now. We used to only have 1. Now we have 2. We have one that's an equine therapist, and one's an equine coach. I never knew the difference. I'm like, what the heck does that mean? Difference is one is literally a therapist, and she takes what's happened from the past and tries to overcome those issues and helps them move forward. The coach starts from the point they're at, literally, and moves them forward.
Got it.
So I didn't know that. But both of them are phenomenal at what they do, and the kids just want to be out there. One thing that, and this is just between you and I didn't know that a horse was that big of a deal. Like, yes, I've had horses, and they're awesome.
Yeah.
So it's a really great animal. Why is it such a big deal to have equine therapy? Because we got dogs, we got cats, everybody's happy, right? The horses, from what I found out, is that they're a prey animal. So they're in fight or flight mode. Actually, they're more in flight mode the whole time because they don't have a fight mode.
Right.
So they are ready to scurry and run away. So when they see you coming to them, they analyze your energy level more than any other animal, and they feel your energy. So our coach and our therapist are bringing these children to them, and they're broken children.
Yeah.
And the horse feels that. So they're able to take that child and tell them, hey, do you see how the horse is backing away right now? That's because your energy level's off. How are you feeling? And so they talk about what's going on inside of them. And so that ability of the horse to understand. And then once they start overcoming that and become more calm, they're allowed to do things that the horse can, like they can walk the horse around or they can get closer and stuff.
Sure.
So, and it's a big, scary animal too, right? So you would think, when a kid who's never even seen anything more than about a cat or luckily a dog,
Right.
they see this big, scary thing. Now they're not afraid of that animal anymore. The transition is, okay, I've been afraid of big adults for a long time. If I'm not afraid of a big animal, then maybe I can slowly understand I'm not afraid of all big adults.
Yeah.
And so our whole thing is about interactions of different people and different opportunities to, again, get their eyes, off the horizon or on the horizon.
No, I love that with the horse thing because that makes a lot of sense, and it's a good way to kind of shift the mindset to almost give like an analogy or kind of saying the same thing but in a different way and
Yeah.
illustrating that to these kids. I love that.
Yeah.
It makes a ton of sense. And as far as like obstacles are concerned, basically for the Burke Center, like
Yeah.
what right now seems to be the biggest obstacle that's holding you guys back from getting to maybe another level, if you will, or another position where obviously I would envision you'd love to help more kids and this and that. Is it
Yeah.
financial? Is it volunteer?
Well, it's mostly financial.
Okay.
Like anybody else, it's a nonprofit. You rely on the giving of the individuals in the
Right.
community, and our community is the state of Texas.
Sure.
So, our goal is to provide this level that we have or better for these children. And so in order to do that, you got to keep the lights on.
Yep.
We have, like I said, we have an auto shop, we have a wood shop and all these things to keep those going with insurance and with all the different electricity and all that. I mean, it's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
And staffing. So one of the things I didn't talk about yet is our staffing. So we have a school on site. So University of Texas Charter School is there. So our kids aren't in ISS all the time when they're in
Right.
school, so they're actually getting really good schooling from them. And then we also have mentors that come one-on-one. So we have 2 different male mentors for every single boy that's there. And they spend at least 1 day a month. So that's 2 days a month that we have them with them. Or some of them come every week. And that helps the boys to feel that, hey, not all men are evil. Okay, 80% of these kids don't have male role models. They're either in jail, they've never had one, or it's been a very negative interaction.
Right.
So in order to be able to do all these things, we have to have the money to make it happen. And it's through generous people. And there's a lot of generous people out there. One of the things I see with giving, and I could feel this myself because I do the same thing, is I have to trust that my money is going to be worth giving.
Sure, 100%.
I work hard for my money, right? You work
Yeah.
hard for your money.
Yep.
So I don't want that just squandered. I don't want it thrown away. I want to see that what I give is going to make a difference. That's what's beautiful about Burke. We make a big difference in these kids' lives. We change their lives. And our goal for everything that we have on our property is about changing the life of that child. The kids that go into our program, so anybody who goes into a residential treatment center like us, it's a very difficult scenario to correct. So we have a really good record of the children that come through our program, and they go on to do really good things. There are some that have difficulty, and
I
they'll have
bet.
time. Nobody's 100%,
Yeah.
but our goal is to help that child to get through, and I think everybody can resonate with that. It's the way it is. Oh, I forgot to tell you, we have a greenhouse.
Okay.
So you were talking about volunteers versus money, and money is always a good thing.
Of course.
It's very important. But we also, volunteers is a cool thing. I've told you a couple of different volunteers we already have. And we have groups come in too. I'll have like a church group come in 100 people, and I'll have them like do some pickup, 55 acres. You can
Yeah.
paint fences, you can do all kinds of cool stuff. But we have a greenhouse and a garden, and you're like, oh, cute greenhouse, right? That's what I thought when a guy was going to donate it to me. I'm like, yeah, maybe the size of this room,
More
20 by
work.
20. It's 100 feet by 80 feet.
Oh, wow.
It's huge.
That
It has
is
aquaponics. It has it's hydroponics. It has aeroponics, which I never even heard of.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. But again, it's about work.
Yep.
So volunteers, you had a guest on earlier, and she, came out and saw, and I've got a lot of people that are like, hey, this is fun, but I still need more volunteers for gardens, because that's the same size outside garden I have as well. And so that takes a lot of people. The boys love doing it. So that's one of their favorite things too. You talk about what's their favorite thing. They love going out in the garden. It's just something therapeutic about seeing something grow that you have, you're nurturing. And our kids, we have so much food that comes out of that. The boys get to pick it, and then they donate it to 3 of our local area food banks too. So, Dripping Springs Catholic Church has a food bank, and so does the Methodist Church in town, and so does the Baptist Church on 1826, which is not too far from here as well. And so we donate hundreds of pounds of food to them. And so the boys, and this is an important thing to me too, I want to, even though they're in such a difficult situation and they're worried about their own world, to have the ability to actually give back while you're in that is powerful.
Sure.
It's powerful for our kids and for our, for us to give back. So for these kids to be able to actually give back to the community is so huge, and they love it. They're beaming when they get there, and all the the people that volunteer at those places are like, oh, so glad to see you. So it's such an awesome situation.
I love that. I love that. Do you find that? Well, so we've talked about. Well, let's cover this part. I mean, outside of, we know that we're volunteers is always a good thing. We'll start there. I mean, hypothetically, somebody sees this and they're like, you know what? I'm local to the area. I really want to get involved and volunteer. How do I do that? How do they go about doing that?
A couple different ways. I mean, we have a website, obviously, www.bcfy.burkecenterforyouth.org. But
BCFY,
then
you said?
Burke Center for Youth, so bcfy.org.
Okay.
But that's kind of the, hey, see what pictures we have, beautiful pictures we have, stuff like that. There's also a volunteer website, there a piece of that you can sign up. But to me, I say, if you want to volunteer out there, come see us.
Yeah, check the place out. I was thinking that.
Yeah, because you have to see what it is. I tell every single volunteer, and literally every volunteer I talk to when they come, and I give them a tour. And I do that because I want them to see that sometimes, I'll give you an example. We had a guy come in, he says, I want to teach the boys math. I love math. It's great. I'm like, okay, good luck. Because how many boys really just want to do math?
Right.
Yeah, and they need it, but how many kids want to do it?
Yeah.
So he comes out and he's like, okay, the kids don't like math. He says, but I also been out here and I see you got a lot of trees that need to be trimmed. I love trimming trees. So he trimmed trees, had 2 boys, because he went through my whole full program. You got to do background check and fingerprinting. You got to be real safe. Got to make sure the kids are good. But then he had 2 boys, and he went out there and he trimmed the trees, and the kids would move the branches. And then he got to talk to them while they were there. So that was his mentoring piece.
Yeah.
That was his real volunteer piece. And so I tell everyone to do that. Come out, see the place, and you'll think that, oh, this is what I want to really do. And you'll see something else. You go, oh, this is exactly what I want to do, because this needs help, and my gift is this. And so that's all they have to do. And I can tell you, if they're gardeners and they want a garden, this is like heaven. I don't know if I mean, there's master gardeners that have come out and they're like, wow.
Well, I think I'm going to take you up on the trip. I mean, we have a team that helps us as far as editing and everything along those lines, and I'd love to come out and bring a few cameras. And
love you too.
We can clip it onto this podcast so people who are watching this can get a feel for what you're doing and everything along those lines. So I think that would be fantastic, and I'd love to see the place myself.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So you mentioned the website. I envision that the address is on the website. What does someone do? Do they call? Do they make an appointment? Do they just show up?
They can just call, they can show up, they can do any of the above. We have, our phone numbers on the website, our addresses on the website. We're right in Driftwood, so we're about 5 miles from Salt Lick. So if you want to go to the Salt Lick afterwards, it's my favorite barbecue. But I mean, there's a lot of good barbecue places.
And then as far as, are there any events coming up? Are there any,
we just had a cool touch-a-truck, which was an interesting thing to do. And we're going to do it again next year. Because
what is a touch-a-truck?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So it was more of a community outreach thing than making money. We had a little raffle, and we made some money on that.
Okay.
But it was to bring the community in. And so what we did is, on our property, we had like dump trucks and semis and tractors. And we even had a transformer truck that looked like Transformer and stuff. And all these were out there. And so it was geared towards families that have younger kids. And they would come out, and you literally can sit in all the seats, push buttons, turn the horns. And so we had people out there. We even had the military came out, the special forces from Camp Mabry.
Nice.
And so they had a lot of different pieces and parts, and the kids could just touch trucks and go around and play.
Sure.
And then we had a food truck and things, and we also had some local people that could play music, a couple kids that are
musicians, right on.
and they had fun. And
That's
so it was
awesome.
a really great, and it was also the eclipse. So that kind of brought all, everybody's like, oh. So we had to get them glasses so nobody was going blind down our place. But that was what we did. And then usually in the spring, we used to have a gala. This year, we're trying to shift it. So we're going to skip till 25. And so it's a little bit away. But we're going to do a big event in 25, and we're working that right now.
Okay.
But in the spring, we're going to do a mailer to everybody. We have nobody hardly does mailers anymore. So we're going to mail out, and we're going to try and see if we can get people to donate in that way. Those are the big events that we're doing right now, is those two things. And Christmas is always a big thing. So if anybody wants to give at Christmas, all they have to do is contact me. And through the office or through the email or, anything.
I like that. And I'm thinking more now. My brain's turning here about getting the cameras out there and doing all of that. I think that'd be helpful and good for you as well. We've got quite a following, so I think that'll be helpful. Some of the things that I just, we always try to, I think about if I was watching this right now, like what kind of questions I would have and, ways to really allow for people who are watching this to get a feel for, because it's really about the boys, right?
100%.
So
everything,
I think a lot of people would have a lot of questions just about, we've talked about what you're doing, but, in your experience, a lot of these kids that are coming in, I mean, are these kids from broken homes? Are these, I guess what I'm getting at is, do you feel that there is a common denominator in the type of individual that is coming into your center? And I ask this because we can't sugarcoat that, there's a lot of talk through the media. There's a lot of talk just in general of kind of the erosion of the household and men in general. I mean, we get a bad rap, man. I mean, I'm like the worst person on the planet. I'm a white male, bald. I come.
Does bald help too?
I mean,
I'm on my way.
There's a lot of us out there, man. And like, in addition to it, I didn't grow up, wealthy or anything, but I came from a decent household. Like, I'm privileged.
Yeah, you're the exact opposite of everything that we're looking at. But here's the thing: there's no specific child that comes to us. We have every flavor that you can think of. No kidding. They're just all foster kids. That's the difference. The state is in control of them.
I guess what my question was more geared towards was, one of the comments you made was, I wish we could go out of business.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
Is there anything that you feel, if you could just make like almost a public service announcement to everybody, that you could say, hey, this is something we're identifying, that if we can get better at this as a community, maybe we could start to go out of business? Is there anything that you're seeing? Is it violence? Is it
80% of the kids that are in the foster system are because of drugs?
Drugs. Okay.
80%.
There it is.
That's alcohol, drugs, whatever, any substance abuse. That's why when people say, hey, let's just, legalize marijuana, it's not a big deal. Everybody else is doing it. I'm like, no, it's a gateway drug. Okay. If I could go back in time in the beginning of the world and say alcohol needs to go away, alcohol would go away.
Right.
But it can't. It's here. They tried prohibition. It didn't work miserably. I don't want to have to do the same thing with marijuana. Right. It's not helpful.
Do you feel like maybe if we were to dive deeper into the drug thing, it has why are people turning to drugs? Again, so it sounds like
there's two different pieces. That's a long podcast,
right?
But a little piece of that is
but you're qualified
despair.
To answer this, right? I mean, you're on the front lines of this, and a lot of people have a lot of opinions.
I'm working
that
with
qualified.
the results of that. I'm not working with what happens. Even my therapists are focused on children and the results of that. But as my layman's piece of this is, I think that there's a lot of despair out there because people don't have a foundation to work with, and that I think is the biggest problem. The foundation of the family. We'll go with that. That's a biggest piece of the puzzle. So if you're being brought up in a situation that is, you're fatherless and you're in a poor income, and everybody's struggling to get by, those are recipes for someone to have a difficult time. And there's some amazing people that have stories about coming through stuff like that, but it's a difficult piece. And so if we could take care of that, that would be amazing. but that's difficult because everybody knows the social system is really tough in this
Yeah.
United States, and communism's not the answer. No,
Well, especially for
socialism.
boys. I mean, a father's
It's huge.
It's important.
That is probably the biggest piece of the puzzle. So, having a stable, family with a father figure in it is, I think, essential for them to understand and to realize what it's supposed to be like to be a good person.
Sure.
So if you don't have that, even if there's one in there and he's not a good person, you're going to have, you're producing a product that is not good.
Yeah.
And those children, suffer with that. So that's, if you could say magic wand, that's the magic wand.
I mean, at least for a
To get rid of
foster center for boys, having
Yeah.
having a positive male role model is.
Which is why we have 2 mentors. We actually are starting a new program too, which just got kicked off. The Hays County Sheriffs are doing a program called it's Blue Guardian.
Okay.
And so Blue Guardian is they're gonna come out, and the sheriffs, if they want to be part of it, will come out. And we've already had one event, and they came out and got to, just interact with the boys in a positive way. So you can probably imagine that a lot of the kids that are in these situations have had some run-ins with the law, or have
Sure.
had family members that have had negative run-ins with the law. And, they need to have an understanding that 99% of the law is good.
Right.
There is a percent that's not.
Sure.
There's a percent of everything that's
There's
not
always
good.
bad guys out there.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
But
They're
when you're
everywhere.
told that all the time, that this is the bad piece, then you gotta understand that it's not. And so they were doing this. They came out and they had an amazing interaction with all the boys. And there were still some really skeptical boys. They're like, "I'm not doing it."
Right.
It's like,
Of course.
okay, you can do it from afar. And so all they did
Mhm.
is they played catch, they kicked soccer balls, so they had lunch with them and that type of thing.
They find out that a lot of
They're
law
human.
enforcement are just people.
They're human.
Yeah.
And they're not these, crazy
Monsters.
mean monsters. So that's a beautiful thing, but it's all about that mentoring. It's about that male role model. It's about having someone that they can understand is not an evil thing. And so that's a real big piece of the puzzle for sure.
I gotcha. Can you give us kind of one of your favorite success stories, without obviously naming names or
Yeah, of
anything like
course.
that? Kind
Yeah.
of giving us an
Well,
idea.
I'll give you one story that I really thought was hilarious to me, and then I'll give you, the heartfelt one. The funny one is that we have a goat program.
Okay.
And so, because we're on a farm, and then
Yeah.
we've got chickens, and we've got horses and goats, and the goats come. It's an amazing, awesome community we have. They donate 10 goats each year to the boys, and then they have a family that comes from the town, and they teach the boys FFA. So they teach them how to, take care of the goats, teach them how to feed them. We even have people that donate food to us, and so they feed them, they shear them, they do everything to take care of goats,
Sure.
and then they learn how to show the goats.
Okay.
So it's a really cool program, but we had a boy doing it, and I was getting frustrated because the staff didn't like it because, oh my gosh, this is tough to watch these kids do this. And all this. So there's a lot of problems. And then one kid was dragging this goat, because in the beginning you have to drag it because the dog goes like, "I'm not walking."
Right.
What are you, crazy? And you can imagine they're stubborn.
I'm feeling a metaphor coming on here.
You're not a metaphor. This is a direct quote here. The kid is dragging this goat, and I'm watching, and he stops in front of us, and he goes, "Now I know what you feel like."
Yeah.
I was like, beautiful.
Yep.
Goats are staying.
Right.
So they're still there, and it
That's
still
awesome.
works, but that's really good. So that's that piece. And then I have another one. An analogy I use, being a coach, not of baseball, by the way. I did it one year, and it was not fun. But being a coach, I talk about, success stories, because everybody's like, "Well, how successful are you guys?" And I say, "Well, we're 100% successful, because every kid that comes to us is better when they leave."
Yeah.
Now, are they going to be home runs? No. So I tell everybody we have home runs, we have triples, doubles, singles, and so that's kind of what happens. And so I give an analogy of all the different bases, but I'll give you a home run. So we had a home run. This kid came in, and at one point, we had a staff. He's like 350 pounds,
Mhm.
big, literally semi-pro football player, right? And he's holding the boy's wrist, and the boy is cursing, swearing, calling him every racial slur known to mankind. I mean, just totally berating this guy.
Mhm.
Telling him he was, Stone Age, whatever.
Right.
Your mama's this, whatever. And the staff's just kind of look at him like, "You don't mean that." It's like, "Yes, I do." And he gets really mad. And he kind of gets over that. fast forward a year later, and this kid had gone to a hearing because he was physically assaulted, sexually assaulted, and dealt with by a stepdad. And he had what is the group called? It's Bikers BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse, I think is what it calls it. But anyhow, so they actually went with him to be his support as he confronted at the trial the stepdad. And the stepdad went. But the interesting thing was that this kid did great. Like he survived all that. He got through all this really tough stuff, and then he moved forward and succeeded. So that's a huge. So my home run is not just a kid who leaves amazing. It's a kid who comes in extremely broken, and we literally were looking at him going, "There's no way that this is going to work. It's just, I mean, we're going to give you everything, but good luck." And then he just knocks it out of the park. And he did it because of the patience of the staff that was there, because of the love and the caring that's going on every day. We have a 1-to-3 ratio of staff to children, which is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very focused group. Those kids are never left alone. So to have that, and that's, we don't have home runs every day. I know that. But it's the home runs that you hold on to. But there's a lot of triples and doubles for us. There's a lot of kids that come in, they're all coming in broken, or they aren't coming to us.
Yeah, right.
And there's a lot that go out in different levels of, success. And we do our best while we have them. And they don't graduate from us, but we've had kids graduate. We actually have a house on campus too that's just for kids 18 to 21. It's a little bit, it's separated because they're not allowed on our campus.
Right.
But we have kids going there too. And so the reason that came about is because when I first got there was a kid 17, and I'm like, okay, what happens at 18? I mean, do you know what happens to a kid at 18 when they're in the system? They just say, congratulations, we've done our best, good luck.
Right.
It's not going to work. 80% of the kids that do that end up on the street or in jail. So that's not a good statistic. And we just spent a year and a half on this kid. So the community came together. We did an amazing job, built a house, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, kitchen, dining, and living room. And built it for this kid, so we put him in there. So we had 4 kids go through that. We give them a car, they get a job. They're either going to college or they have to get an apprenticeship. We get them. We have a lot of people that are just really giving and teach them apprenticeships and stuff like that. So anyhow, point is that we don't want any child to not be taken care of. And so everyone that comes in, we give them everything we can.
Do you have any of the staff that works now that was part of the system?
There are definitely, there's definitely kids that have been part of the system. We haven't brought anybody. I would
envision with 50 years.
Yeah, and I think they may have had 1 or 2 that have come back that were in our actual program, but we try not to do that.
Okay.
And part of that is their emotion, negative and positive, is really raw when they come back. And we've seen it with, I had a guy come in, he's like, oh, I want to work here. I have a past and blah, blah, blah. He literally one day and he quit.
Yeah,
he saw a child that was just dysregulating and having major issues, and he's like, I can't take this, and he left. So we see that as not a positive. Yeah. Now, there's other ways, and I went to a fundraiser for Helping Hand Home, which is a place like us, but they do 4 to 13-year-old girls and boys. And so they're in our residential treatment center here in Austin. You can talk to them sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But I went to there, and they had Sal Paul, who is a musician, come on. And his background is all about brokenness, And so he resonated really well with, of course, that audience, because that's the audience that we're talking about. But he may not be a good person to be a counselor, a care counselor, or work at a place like us, but his give back is telling his story and doing and giving back. And so that's what I would say to people like that is like, do something, make something really great, and then give back.
Yeah. No, I love it. Anything else we need to know about the Burke Center for Youth or anything along those lines? I know any events, obviously the website we've covered.
Yeah. There's one thing I do. I end almost every single one of my interviews or talks really to anybody is as I ask for something that's really not for the Burke Center, but it is I ask for foster parents and adoptive parents. And so we don't specifically deal with that. I mean, I have child placement agencies, but they're down in Harlingen, Laredo, and Corpus. So that's not
Gotcha.
our piece right from up here, from the Burke boys. But I thank all the people that are foster parents, because my gosh, that's a thankless job, and you are doing God's work for sure.
Yeah.
But I always ask everyone, think hard about helping out that foster kid or to adopt someone, because here's the thing. Without that piece, our boys that are with us, because they don't have a family, they're looking for an adoption in a foster home. Like, we had a kid just the other day. This is the third time he's been trying to get fostered, and it got turned down. So if I ask as many people as I can for fostering, adopting, then I know that hope for a family or some sort of a family life will help our kids who are in the worst situation and the most difficult to adopt and foster. It'll help them to be able to transition to
Stay on
something.
track.
Yeah, because to me, a kid without hope, and I've seen it at our place, if they think there's no way I'm going to get anything good out of this, because there's no way I'm going to somewhere good, they will not try at all. And that's the hard part, is to see a kid come in and you're like, look, just allow us to help you. Allow it. And that's the hope piece. That's where it works good. So that's my one big give and ask back, besides, of course, money.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Well, like I said, I appreciate you coming on. I look now, we've been rapping for 40 minutes.
Sorry, man. I'm a talker.
It's good. It's good. I try to give everybody about an hour, but for me, what I really am like, again, just doing the media stuff, my brain is churning right now.
I'm
gonna email my
there.
Well, I'm gonna email my team, and we'll get together, you and I, off the podcast here. We'll figure out a time, and we're gonna get out there, and might even be able to do just a little interview / podcast there, so that we can kind of see some of the stuff that you're actually doing, and
whatever you want to do.
Splice it all together.
We'd love to have you out there.
I finish up every podcast the same way with new guests. I'm going to ask that you just look in the camera, give us your name again, give us the website, tell us what you're doing, anything that anybody needs to know, and we'll wrap it up.
All right, thanks. Steve Fournier, Burke Center for Youth in Driftwood. And we take care of those boys, the foster boys from 10 to 17 years old. And we need your prayers. We need your volunteering. And we also need your money. So we appreciate you helping us take care of these boys.
Awesome. Steve, thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother.
Awesome.